Okay, we're going to go ahead and start this off. Just to start off, we're going to go ahead and look at this just initial page of our deliverable here. So right here we just have the initial page. It's just showcasing all the content we have here in our deliverable 2 document. We have all the documents, we have some peer feedback, the weekly questions, the meeting minutes, and we have that all here included in our initial table of contents here. Here, starting off, we have our domain class diagram, and you can see right below the domain class diagram, we have all the information that we got from our in-class exercise, the feedback, and you can see that we talked about what we did to make changes to our initial diagram, and then we included our new diagram there above that feedback, so you're initially able to just on that same page view everything. Same thing with the use case diagram. We have the use case that we made substantial changes to. You can see those there above. We have all of the stuff there to the right. We reduced some of the lines there and just made sure all the connections were in the right spot and what they needed to be. Okay, and then here we have some of our sequence diagrams. We have quite a few of them. We have the owner create class, which is done by the trainer, and then we have the owner set belt color, which is right there, as well as the student when he books the group class, as well as the student when he books a private class, and finally the trainer when he sets the password. So we have quite a few of those sequence diagrams in there, and then below the sequence diagrams we have our system class model, and you can see from our system class model we have the actors that we've taken from the domain class diagram and the use case diagram. So we have our owner, trainer, and student, and then next to it for each of the actors we have a boundary class. So we have the owner GUI, the trainer GUI, as well as the student GUI, because each of those would have just a little bit different screens. And then we have our control blocks next to it. So we have our user management, password management, class management, and booking management. And you can see here that none of the actors are interacting with the entities directly. Each of them is required to go through a boundary class, which then connects to a control, which then will manage those entities, which can communicate within themselves. And you can see those attributes talking about how they are interacting, but the actors don't directly interact with the entities here in our system class model. Moving forward, we then have our activity diagram, which is really important because it kind of governs what our UI is going to look like, and it goes through how the different actors will interact with the system. You can see here our UI prototype, which is excellent. So you can go through and look at the different screens. So here we have the initial logon screen, and then after you log in, you're met with this initial screen right here, which asks you, do you want to manage your account? Do you want to manage the classes that you're taking? And then you can go through, you can view your schedule, you can add a group class, you can add a private class if you're a student, you can cancel a class, and there's a lot of different screens, lots of different actions that you can take here based on our activity diagram. I'm not going to go through them all in the video just because we don't want to have like a 20-minute video, because our UI is pretty thorough. And then we have these student personas for our UI prototype, and these are basically just some ideas of who we envision might be using our user interface as well as our application. So for example, just to start off, we have Mike Simp. He's a gym owner. We think that he might use this for his goals to have his students' best interests in mind, because our program facilitates easy access to account and classes right there. And so we kind of tailor our user interface to fit with these personas. We also have our weekly questions, so you can see here that we answer the questions for that week as well as the next week. It just talks about what we did this week, what went well, what we're going to do in the future, maybe any issues that we encountered in the week. We also have our meeting minutes, which are for the same time periods. I'm just talking about what we did with that time when we had to meet with each other. Like we looked over the kickoff document, we divvied up some of the work, and then last but not least we have our peer feedback, which we got from that in-class exercise. And this is just the document that we submitted before. We wanted to make sure we had this as well as the project feedback responses, which we included right next to the individual diagrams that were affected, and what we made changes to, and how we took that feedback and turned around and made our deliverable better based on the feedback that we received. But we also have just the original feedback that we received here included at the end of the document. That way you can go ahead and review and see what was the actual feedback we received, and then you can go back and look above and see exactly how we acted on that feedback to make those important changes.